Hello, good evening, welcome, good afternoon, good night, good whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, wherever and whenever you are watching from. This is Captain Mike. We are still crossing the U.S. and we're still crossing the U.S. in a Curtis Jenny. Today's a big day because we're going to be flying around Chicago. Not going to be the most thorough aerial tour. Alien tour. Oh boy. No, it's not going to be the most thorough aerial tour of Chicago you've ever seen, and we're not stopping, but should be fun. Should be fun. Some big buildings, some other landmarks. It's a place I know for a change. Anyway, let's hop into this. So if you've been following the historical series, or historical flight series, what's happening is so we have reached October the 8th, 1911. It's mid-morning. I believe what had happened was that pilot Cal Rodgers had been grounded in Hammond, Indiana, stone's throw away from Chicago, which was one of his big stops, but he'd been grounded there for a couple of days due to bad weather. But it's fine. Morning of the 8th, he was finally able to get that together and go to Chicago. Fortunately, a bit of a nasty surprise waiting for him there, but we'll talk about that as we get there. All right, so startup procedure, mercifully very short, but of course we must. That's the wrong app. Here we go. Get my chart out. Alright. And we got the compass on. Okay. So, fuel valve, ignition, fuses, breakers, I guess. Choke, throttle, and ignition proper. All right. Show is ready to get on the road. I think I just walked right through my wing. Okay, so we are at runway 9, it looks like. I need to go north, but I don't really feel like taxiing from, so we're about here. I really don't want to taxi all the way to here. So I think I'm going to use runway 27 instead. Should be closer to the prevailing winds at any rate. Okay, 90, so the compass looks right. Elevation should be about 600 feet, so that's right. Okay. Important lesson I learned last time is to check this stuff. Or check this stuff while you have a valid reference for it. I've added some new extensions to the channel. I've updated some extensions on the channel, so haven't had any technical issues yet, but bear with me if it does happen. Alright, so we are on Taxiway Alpha. And like I said, I gotta get from... That was intersection Charlie, and I gotta get to here. You know, I think it might be the chart that's mislabeled. This... No, I don't know. I was messing around a little bit earlier with this airport, and some of the taxiways just don't match up with. Or taxiways on the chart do not match up with what the thing says. Like for instance, that says Bravo, but it's labeled Golf. This one here, also labeled Bravo. I don't know. Yeah, all the crossways are labeled Bravo, and that's not, this one should be Echo. This one, the chart says it's Echo. Alright, at any rate, here's the end of runway 27. Should be spelling out the digits, really should be 27. But anyway. So we're going to be going, so we're in Lansing, Indiana now. We're going to be flying over Hammond, Indiana, and then into Illinois, do a loop around Chicago, and then from there we're going to be following the Des Plaines River to Lewis University, just north of Joliet. Punch it. I have it listed as 67 miles. Should have realigned the camera before I throttled up. But anyway. Alright, anyway, we're airborne. And I need to go north. Okay, so I'm going to try to rejoin the railway in Hammond or Calumet. See if I can actually find it. Cruising power set. Here we are, the Hammond, Illinois, the possible future home of the Bears. One hopes not, but who can tell? Alright, so this is 94, maybe? Where's that 94? Where does it say what this road is? Anywho. Having crossed that, means it's about time I start looking for the railways. Boy, look how much I'm crabbing. I thought the wind was... Yeah. No, because the wind's pushing my plane to the east. That makes sense. Well, if I don't find the railway, it's not like Chicago's gonna be easy to miss. Well, here's a big rail yard. I don't know for sure which one, but at least one of these is to be the one I'm looking for. What? Hold on. I actually want to see what this is first. Get a better look at whatever this is first. Oh, that's probably US, or that's probably Interstate 90. Yeah, that's Interstate 90. So, this is where I want to be. Maybe. There's like a big... The thing about the Chicago area is that it is a big fucking mess of railroads, and I don't know... There is a possibility that I end up following not the one I wanted to. So I think luckily, again, I'm certainly not going to be wanting for landmarks, so... I think that will be the trick. I think the move will be just to look for landmarks. Nope. Looks like the extension's working. Looks like the new chat extension's working, so that's good. Wish I had a better inaugural message than that. Big old mess of train lines, and I'm not sure I'm following the right. In fact, I think I'm supposed to be on that side. I think this is Lake Calumet, and I'm on the wrong side of it. So we're off to a start here. Yep. That's the big Calumet train yard there. Okay, and I'm starting to be able to see downtown. So we got that going for us at least. Yeah. I gotta say, for places that are as busy as Chicago, these the Even the terminal charts to leave a lot to be desired in terms of detail. But I will have to make do. Yeah, so there's the one of the couple of really big rail yards in Chicago, or in the Chicago area. I believe you know what? I don't know. We're definitely in Illinois now. I don't know when exactly we crossed that border, but we're definitely in Illinois now. So there's something to celebrate. Here we have Pullman Junction. And we're going to follow the old tram line north into the city. I have way more altitude than I need or want right now. Oh, you know what? I'm not there yet. It's been long enough since I've been to Chicago by train that I can't tell you. Lowe's. Lovely. Perspectives. It's been long enough since I've been to Chicago by train that I can't tell you for sure what it's like now, but if you enter Chicago by train... If you entered Chicago by train back in the day, this is the line you would go up here. Again, we're coming by way of the Chicago and Atlantic. Straight up along this route. And I have some of the original stations marked out. I'm not going to be able to point them out from the air. I just don't know, like, don't know the city from the air that or well enough. chill out. I adjusted the trim a tiny, or the elevator trim a tiny bit, and the plane suddenly once lurched upwards. Makes me nervous, this plane, sometimes. Yeah, there it is. How you doing, Remalicious? Chat's very own Chicago-lander. Yeah, I had a pretty boring day. Not much to talk about. So I ended up redoing, the video is not live on my YouTube yet, but I ended up redoing that second part of the, Tuesday stream where I got completely lost. So I did that as a, pre-record. It'll be up on YouTube sooner or later. And yeah, with a working compass, I managed to go the right way pretty easily, so yeah. That's been my last couple of days. Oh, and I finished First Light. That's the other exciting thing that happened. I'm gonna say I still overall very positive on 007 First Light, but the farther I got into the game, farther I got into the campaign, the less I liked it. So, yeah. Just my opinion, though. I think it is not at its best when it's doing Uncharted, and the farther into the campaign you get, the more it is just doing Uncharted. That's how I feel. No, this wouldn't be Wrigley Field. This would be, yeah, the White Sox. U.S. Cellular. Wright Field. Not going to be flying past Wrigley, it's too far north, and I don't remember if Wrigley would have existed in 1910 or almost certainly not in its present state. Okay, now I have no idea if trying to actually fly through the buildings is actually a good idea, or in this plane it's actually a good idea or not, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Okay, so Wrigley wasn't open yet when this flight happened. Fenway might be that old. Oh, well, that's a nice historical coincidence, or whatever the correct way to put that would be. There's Soldier Field. I'll be getting closer to that smooth soon. Okay, so this is the big Chicago rail yard. This did exist. This did exist in 1910. I need to figure out how to turn off the new sound. Alright, so I don't remember my history 100%, but Union Station did exist in basically this place, but I don't think it's the same building it is now. In 1911. So we're going to fly up the Chicago River. I think I'm going to fly. I think I'm going to follow the river. And just made that more difficult for myself with these buildings. He said. Alright. So the highest, or the tallest building in Chicago at the time of Rodgers' flight would have been the Montgomery Ward building, which is somewhere around here, or somewhere a bit to the north of here, I think. If I remember what I read correctly. I looked it up. Don't think I'd be able to pick it out of the skyline. Is that it? I think it's one of these. I think it's one of these. Obviously, nowadays we got the Willis Tower, Sears Tower. Fly over that. So the afternoon, or the the morning / afternoon of October 8th, Rodgers did land in Chicago at Grant Park, which I don't know where you would land in Grant Park now. But I guess there was enough clear space there at the time. Yeah, you definitely couldn't land here now. And he did a demo. I guess maybe here. I guess maybe here you could make a landing. Did some aerial demonstrations. So we'll do a wing wave. You know what? I wanted to do this for a while. Let's try doing a loop. This is a Barnstormer plane. Should be capable of doing it. Speed up. Nope. That ain't happening. Okay. Okay. Oh dear. Oh, I stalled it. I stalled it. I stalled it. Come on, come on, come on. Speed. Do not do loops in this. I was sure this plane was capable of it, but... Alright, barrel roll. No, no, you know what? Nope. Nope. About to stall it again. Speed. Airspeed. Thank you. Alright, no more. Maybe they must have upgraded the engine or something whenever... So the Barnstormer versions of this must have had upgraded engines or something. Anyway, now that we've all learned that valuable lesson, there's Soldier Field. Do another wing wave. It's gonna have to do. Son of a bitch! Why does that keep killing my airspeed so much? Oh, this is embarrassing. Anyway. Oh, that's why, because the throttle wasn't actually... I mean, it's for the best. It is for the best that there's no explosion. Alright. One more attempt at the barrel roll. No, no, no. Combat trainer my ass. Ooh, that was close to the ground. Alright, alright. No more acrobatics. Yeah, I can't imagine they want you to crash. So I need to look for Jackson Park. Anyway, upon taking off again, Rodgers was advised that he was going to get lost if he tried to work his way, or tried to pick out an individual rail line in Chicago itself. So basically what he was told to do, and he got lost attempting to do this the first time. I didn't bother to recreate the whole goddamn thing, but what he was told to do was to follow Lake Michigan to Jackson Park, cut west across the city to the, and then cut west across the city until you get to the Des Plaines River. And so that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm past Jackson Park already. Okay, so we've all learned valuable lessons about assuming your plane's capable of doing acrobatics. If I had made whenever I make affiliate, I had been thinking about adding a channel points reward that is do a flip, and now I know I shouldn't do that because it won't work. It might not work out. All right, yeah, okay. There's the Museum of Science and Industry. So yeah, so this is Jackson Park here. Fair enough. Alright, so here we are, Jackson Park, and we're gonna head west across. We're gonna cut west across the city, across the present location, including right past the present location of Midway Airport, which definitely was not there. Alright, so I've turned the noise off, or the message noise off, I think. That got annoying very quickly. That looks like Midway Airport up there, so I seem to have... So I'm a little bit south of where I need to be, but the point is to get west to the river, so... Should be okay. Another big rail yard. Oh no, Midway's dead ahead. Okay. Yeah, Chicago is so big it blows my mind. Or like, I'm not a suburb kid. Like I'm a city kid now, and it just even like just the sheer scale of Chicago compared to Pittsburgh is it's not at all the same. That's a solid pun, original Mallard. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? And it's actually super irresponsible to fly this close to an active airport in real life, especially with no transponder. But I'm doing it anyway. Plane taking off. Yeah, yeah, cool. I'm glad, glad there's a fellow, glad to see a fellow GA enthusiast. I don't, yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, I don't know, I just personally find airliners, kind of repetitive to fly. Whereas this, I mean, I like to, I think that my Flight Simulator 2024, or Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024's best feature is the scenery, and, I want to celebrate that. And, yeah, I've, been really enjoying flying this vintage aircraft. I got to see a Curtiss JN4 in the flesh a week ago. That was very fun. Or a week and a half ago. That was very fun. Yeah. And I was just informed, or I just found out that there is there's a museum in the, or there is a museum and aerodrome in the Hudson Valley that has a airworthy Curtiss JN4 or Jenny that they do flights with. That'd be it's called Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. I'd love to visit there. Hudson Valley is quite a hike from where I live. Oh, that's really cool. I don't have any pilots in my family that I know of. I know, I have a great uncle who was a bomber crewman in World War II, but not a pilot. Oh. Had a great one of those people. I don't know if I ever met him. But yeah. One of those extended family members you just, if you ever met them, it was so long ago you don't remember it. But I've seen pictures. I want to say Western Front, not Pacific, or Eastern Front, not Pacific. Sounds right. Sounds right. I'm like half remembering some pictures my mom showed me. Okay, so we got a quarry here. So I think I'm back on track. I remember this quarry. You know what? I remember this because I remember doing the Route 60 on the, yeah, on the Route 66 flight I did. That was over here. Or part of it was over here. Anyway, so, following the historic flight plan here, so, after leaving Chicago, so in Chicago, the VinFizz special, the train caravan that was following Rodgers, or following/assisting Rodgers across the U.S., switched over to the Chicago and Alton Railroad, which is what we'll be following from here to Kansas City. And so this is probably CSX now. Hold on, did I write down which? Maybe this is still Norfolk Southern. At any rate, it's present there. We're going to be following this. First place he stopped after doing the demonstrations in Chicago, or after spending the day in Chicago, was Joliet. I am using Lewis University in Lockport as my stop for this leg. Flew past that on the... I remember flying past Lockport on the, Route 66 thing, so it should be pretty familiar. So it should at least look familiar to me, anyway. It was also in Chicago that, the VinFizz crew learned that, oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah. What was I going to say? It was also in Chicago the VinFizz crew learned that the $50,000 prize that William Randolph Hearst had placed for the first crew to make it across the... or for the first airman to make it across the U.S. Had suddenly developed a time limit of October 20th. Which, at this point was more or less completely unrealistic for the VinFizz. So, unfortunately, they had lost that part of motivation. There were a number of nasty telegrams were sent back and forth. But yeah. Suffice to say, William Randolph Hearst did not end up paying any pilots $50,000 for crossing the U.S., and I don't think he ever intended to. Or there's no historical evidence one way or another, but I suspect he never intended to. Or if at any point he had intended to pay it out, by October of 1911, he had decided that he no longer, or he wanted to make sure he didn't have to pay out. seem to be catching quite a bit of updraft. I should probably not be directly over the river because I seem to be catching a whole bunch of updrafts from it. I don't need to be anywhere... I really don't need to be this high. Only... not that far from Lockport. Yeah, yeah, this is what you get as far as a compass goes, and a speedometer. I was justifying this in saying that I'm at, so the flight that the historic flight that I'm replicating, I assumed that the pilot had... I would have assumed that a sensible pilot would have taken a handheld compass with him, but on the other hand, having now read most of the story of the VinFizz flight across the U.S., I'm starting to wonder if Rodgers actually did have a compass with him, given the number of times he got lost. But yes, the included operations manual for the Jenny. For the Jenny, I'm trying to remember which any builds. Yeah, the included operations manual for the any builds Jenny actually refers to this as an EFB, which I think is a bit of a stretch. This definitely... Yeah, I mean, that is true. In 1911, in fact, in 1911, the road, like, most of the roads weren't even there either, so it was railways and rivers, largely. But, I mean, I like, not taking a map and compass with you at bare minimum is kind of mind-boggling to me. Like, maybe the map probably wasn't... Map was probably maybe not quite up to this level of detail, but... Maybe I'm too much of a Boy Scout, or too much of an ex-Boy Scout. this would be the cross. So this here would be the, can't read that. Something 55. 355? I don't know. Doesn't actually matter. Point is, that's this highway crossing here. So we are pretty close. Actually, what's probably more likely, what I think is probably more likely, given the design of the Wright EX. So a plane like this, you got a closed cockpit. It's reasonable to have a map in here. You're not going to lose it. Given the open cockpit design of the Wright EX, what I suspect Rodgers, I suspect he, again, may or may not have had maps that were up to this quality. Whatever maps he did have, he probably had to memorize them. Or try to memorize them, and wasn't using them in the... didn't have it with him in the plane. But again, I feel like having a pocket compass is still... I think it is very silly to... it would be very silly to try to do this without at least a pocket compass. Yeah, I don't know about how they would have handled true north. I don't know how they would have handled true/magnetic north back then. The U.S. Geological Survey did exist. I don't know how thorough their cataloging was at the time. But the U.S. Geological Survey would have been the most. Probably would have been the closest thing to what we have now as far as VFR charts. So I got the field over there. Let's be lower, I think. Here we are, Lewis University, Lockport, Illinois. Oh, that does sound neat. Yeah, I gotta say, like, old-timey navigation, or, old-timey, yeah, vintage navigation, like, just how they did, how people managed that interests me almost as much as the actual, vehicles do. So, I would be interested in reading that. I'm interested in doing that, it's probably not going to be the very... I'm probably going to need to take a breather from vintage planes by the time I'm done doing this cross-country flight. But what I do think I'm going to do at some point, probably early next year, is I'm going to recreate the Douglas World Cruiser trip from 1924, where a small U.S. Army convoy circumnavigated the Earth. Okay. Alright. I think we're going to go ahead and do the next leg. So let me hop out of the airplane and get that set up. Load. Alright. So this is going to be the first half. Yeah. Next leg is going to take us to Peoria. I forgot to... No. Oh, yeah. No, that's right. I forgot to do runways here. it gonna let me do that? Alright. That's better. So let's go ahead and go back. Okay. So I got the navigation set up. Refuel the aircraft. Throws an error because this game kind of sucks. All right, October 9th. Do that. Okay. So let's hop back on in the cockpit here. All right. Yeah, so Lockport, Illinois to Peoria, Illinois, a bit shy of 130 miles. Straight. So we're now on the morning of October 9th, and the 9th would end up taking Rodgers all the way to Springfield. We're not going all the way to Springfield. Or Springfield's farther than I'm prepared to fly this thing right now. But, yeah. Alright. Get straightened out here. And punch it. Whoa, 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 why so far down? Okay. I have no idea why the plane almost nosed over like that. That was scary. Alright, we're in the air. Give me a lot more upward trim. Thank you. Alright, so first thing to do is to get back to the river. And cross the river again and get back to following the CNA. Yeah, this one's gonna run. This is gonna run later than I would normally go, but it's I'm working on tomorrow, so whatever. be on the other side of this canal, though. Probably. Ah, yes. Okay, this is the old Joliet prison, which I think... or Illinois State Penitentiary in Joliet, which probably not anachronistic to 1911, as seen in Blues Brothers. There's a bridge that appears to be partially underwater. That's cool. That's cool. Good job, Microslop. Here's another one. Fair enough, I guess. I just like blaming things on Microsoft. Because, you know, why wouldn't you? here we go, Chicago and Alton. And this is a quarry, X-quarry, something like that. That is not on my map. There's another one. There's the Chicagoland Speedway. And another quarry. Some sort of big transport yard. We have had our fun with the urban, and we are back into the Midwest. Whoa! Look at, I'm gonna guess Amazon distribution center. Look at all those shipping containers. Yeah, without looking it up, I'm gonna guess Amazon. That wasn't there in 1911. Not sure about that one. Okay, so the next, where is it to Dwight? Next 30 miles are going to look very familiar if you watched the, or if you were here for the Route 66 stream. More or less the same territory. obviously covering it much more slowly. And in fact, there's Interstate 55, I want to say, which is the current routing of it, which is more or less the... Oh no. Nope, that's not an interstate, but that is 66 there. Or whatever it's called now. That would have been Elwood we just passed. As in Joliet, Jake, and Elwood Blues. I just really like Blues Brothers. Uh, 30 is an east-west. See if I can find 30 on my map. But US 30 is primarily east-west. So here we have Wilmington, Illinois, and I am dropping down because I'm just kind of curious if I get far enough down. Probably not going to be able to see it that well, but you remember from my Route 66 thing, near Wilmington is the home of this fella. Would be anachronistic for 1966 or 1911, but you know, we can still have some fun with our roadside America. So that would be his location. And yeah, there isn't much to see there. There isn't much to see here. But yeah, we had fun, didn't we? So here we have Braidwood. Don't assume I have facts about any of these places, because I probably don't. Yeah, so I'm not sure. So, again, this I think is Old 66, but I don't know what it's designated as now. That's Interstate 55. This would be Braidwood. Private cornfield. I am curious if this is literally just a cornfield. I would also love to know what's Jurassic about Jurassic landings. Right next to classic landings. It's out of the scope of this, unfortunately. Anyway, private runway. Anyway, all these private fields. If you were to land there in real life, at absolute best, someone's going to demand you pay them for it. This being America, at worst, they'll castle doctrine your ass. It's a good cheat code right there. It's like how you can get a free air show if you squawk 7,500. And then if you're lucky, free 3 hots and a cot after that. I like the combination of the painted on vehicles and the actual and moving. I swear, every time I try to look at the paper map, every time I like try to actually look at the paper map in front of me, the plane starts dipping to one side or the other. It's so annoying. It's fine, like level right now. I start trying to read the map, I swear it's gonna do something stupid. I don't think so. I've got, it's not like it's tilting forward or anything. And I'm using a honeycomb alpha, which, well, it takes more than zero force to move it. I actually kind of wish I could make it. Kind of wish I could make the hydraulics a little bit stronger, to be honest, but or spring or whatever it is. So Mallard, you have a pilot's license. What have you been flying in real life? I am only just the 172. Fair enough. I would love to get a pilot's license. I don't think I would pass the FAA medical. Due to a combination of both physical and mental health issues. I don't know, like, I've read inconclusive things about whether or not you can get a sport pilot's license without medical, but I don't know. I understand why the FAA is squeamish about letting people with mental health issues fly planes, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm fully aware of that. I am fully aware of all of that, so I don't know. Like I said, I understand where they're coming from, but yeah, it's certainly could be better. But there's also the hypertension, and that's not something I can lie my way through. Or I also have hypertension, and that's not something I can lie my way out of. I'm a Twitch streamer if you were expecting me to be mentally well adjusted. Alright, so, okay, so, history. I mean, I am being treated for it, but I mean, I am taking medication for it, but, you know, it's not ideal. No, one of my symptoms is insomnia, and that one's actually bad. Like, That's actually serious. I think it's entirely fair to call insomnia problematic. Um, yeah. I could probably diet my way out of the hypertension. Like, I do have, like, the hypertension's partially family history. Probably diet my way out of the worst of it. Anyway, so the main line of the Chicago and Alton, and as you can see, it still exists, was supposed to continue on to, or continues on to, Springfield, which is where I'm supposed to be, or which is where Rodgers was supposed to be heading on October 9th, 1911, but, once again, in one of his, I don't know how to explain other than he didn't have a compass on him mishaps, he ended up heading west from Dwight. And I'm not sure if this is the original routing or not of the train line. But when he got to Streeter, which is where we're going to get anyway, when we get to Streeter, which we're going to get to sooner or later, he stopped and asked for direction, or like he stopped and, having noticed that the train caravan wasn't following him. So we'll continue the story there. Ooh. 24-hour shifts. You're, you a doctor? I'm guessing, or something in the medical profession. But yeah, like, it's gotten like, insomnia is something I've been living with to some extent for, like, most of my life, and, paramedic, okay, oh yeah. I know a few people like you. I appreciate your service very much. I'm gonna say, yeah, like, I've been living with, some amounts of, insomnia for most of my life, but recently, but yeah, it's gotten bad recently, like, there was a road trip recently where I had to, like, middle of the day had to pull over and take a nap, because just like I couldn't, just like my normal hours, just my circadian rhythm's just completely fucked, and I work an office job too, so I don't know. I also I was on vacation a week and a half ago and probably overextended myself in terms of how much time I could spend in the car. So yeah, it's hard to see without really zooming out on this chart, but it is truly impressive how much of central Illinois is wind farm. Noticing. So I've got my paper copy in front of me, I can see just how much more of it there is. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I enjoy doing this. I mean, it's, you know, it's not the real thing, but it's cheaper and safer. Hopefully. Maybe with luck I will reach a point in my life where I'm more physically suited. More physically and monetarily suited to doing this, but doing this for real, but yeah. Certainly not writing off anything, writing off the rest of my life yet. Yeah, I certainly appreciate being able to ignore ATC in this game, especially since the implementation of it. I don't know how they managed to make the I don't know if you're I don't know how much time you have in either Flight Simulator 2020 or 2024, but they've managed to make the implementation substantially worse in 2024, and I don't know how they achieved that. But yeah, flying a vintage airliner, why even, or a vintage airplane, why even bother? I do have a radio here in theory, but well, no thanks. There is there are third-party AI. There are third-party AI apps that are supposed to be better than the than Asobo's implementation of it, but I don't. Again, ATC is not really what I'm playing this game for, and if I were, I'd do VATSIM and not, or I'd probably do VATSIM and not AI. On the occasions that I do airliners, I mean, I like to have ATC just for the extra realism, but again, if I were more into IFR flying, I'd probably just have I'd probably just use VATSIM. Ooh. I like the so in game, I like the Cirrus SR-22 as my favorite GA aircraft. For IFR, maybe the Airbus 330. Favorite real-life plane? You're liable to get different answers from me depending on what mood I'm in, but right now I'm going to say the F-117 Nighthawk. And specifically, I have... Give me a second. Yeah. Specifically the one time that, like, the one that was being... I think this is the one that's at the Air Force Hall of Fame that I just was at last week. But this one, this F-117 is just the greatest thing ever. Now, I know that the F-117 was, like, it aged about as well as the computers it was designed on, but I mean, look at it. So the story with this particular one was that when they were declassifying it, and when they were declassifying it, they had to take the radar reflective coating off of it, and that involved using some abrasive. I don't remember if it was the coating. I don't remember if it was like the paint on the plane itself or the abrasive stuff they had to use to remove it, but it was like super toxic crap. And so when they were done, so they were using hazmat, they were using like full hazmat gear to strip the paint on this thing. And when they finally did, they painted that toxic death with a bunch of stuff on it. And it flew like that exactly once, and now, you know, they put just like normal black paint on it for the museum. But I still, that story is pretty great. No, nobody's, as far, I don't think. Yeah, as far as I know, there isn't a particularly good F-117 sim model that I know of. I don't know if it's in DC. I don't think it's in DCS. Maybe it is. I've never played DCS. Pretty sure that the Nighthawk isn't even in any, or like it's not playable in any of the Ace Combat games, which is a real bummer. Oh, the Memphis Belle. I got to see the Memphis Belle, or I got to see the actual Memphis Belle, because I was at the Air Force Museum a week and a half ago. I've been to Seattle exactly once. I did not get to go to the Boeing Museum while I was there, or the Museum of Flight while I was there. So I was with a group, and yeah, not enough plane nerds inside group. Alright, here we have Streator, Illinois. So in Streator, Rodgers stopped, I think ended up having to bargain for fuel out of pocket, or ended up having to barter for fuel out of pocket, but was told to, told basically that he wasn't on the Chicago and Alton, and ended up coming up with a plan to meet up with his caravan at Peoria. So basically just head west to the... Which river? Is this the Illinois River, I think? I think this is the Illinois River. And then just, yeah, meet up with his train caravan there. So that's what we'll do. We will head west and then follow the river south. Anyway, back to the B-17. There's like one, I think it's the B-17. There's like one airworthy one that tours. I forget what it's called. That'd be cool to see. Figure out. Okay, let's follow 270. And I am, unlike last week, or unlike last time, actually reasonably certain that the compass is pointing the right way. Oh, you know what? I'm probably thinking of the one that was in that midair collision. Oh, God. Because there was a B-17 Warbird that collided with something else at an air show a few years ago, and I think the whole crew, that was a total loss of craft and crew, unfortunately. That's a bummer. That's a bummer to remember. I mean, I think that well, so for some warbirds, yeah, they probably should. It is kind of like probably better off preserving. It's definitely worth, like, there's definitely a lot of them that should be kept as museum, like, or it is good that there's a lot of them in museums, and they should probably stay. A lot of them probably should stay that way. But something like P-51, or like they made so many Mustangs that, like, you know, somebody, if you want to fly them, or if Tom Cruise wants to show off his P-51 or something, then, you know, like, I am happy whenever those are in the air. It's a shame jet warbirds are never really going to be a thing. Or at least I think it's a shame jet warbirds are never really going to be a thing. I suspect I have stumbled upon an old rail grade. Interesting. What did so I got to, I was at an air show 2 years ago where I didn't actually get to see it in the air, but I got to, they had actually flown it. I know that they actually flew it there, and from there wherever. I got to fly inside I got to go inside a working C-47. That was pretty neat. Again, planes like the C-47, I mean, that's, you know, there's enough of those preserved that I'm, please fly the working ones. Or between however many C-47s and however many DC-3s Douglas made, there's enough. Ooh. Ooh, Vulcan, that's a great airplane. Yeah, that's one I'd love to see in person. Especially seeing it flying. Wow. Yeah, 2008 to 2015. Oh well. Missed my chance. No, I just want to like in 30 years be able to go to an air show with some kids. Pittsburgh. I just in 30 years want to be able to go to an air show with kids and be like and point at like a point at an A-10 or yeah, like a Warthog warbird and be like, look how goofy this plane is. But don't think that's how it's gonna. Well, for all I know, the A-10's still gonna be in service in 30 years. Seems like the B-52 probably will be. So I think I'm about here now. Maybe 50 miles to go. Yeah, so I live in Pittsburgh. I have been to the U.S. Air Force Museum twice, but it's far enough away that it has to be a special occasion. That like it has to be an occasion for me to go there. I'm trying to talk people into going to the Cleveland Air Show with me, which is the biggest one in the region now. The only one in the region now. There used to be one in West. There used to be one like an hour and a half east of me, and they didn't host it this year, or they're not hosting it this year. Yeah, yeah, I've looked into doing a Discovery flight. Probably will sooner or later. You know. When I get around to it. It's not my only hobby, so like we've been talking about planes a lot because that's what's in front of me. But I'm also into sim racing. I also play guitar in the movies. Okay, so I think again, I like to for viewer benefit talk about my navigation thought process out loud. I think that city there that I went to the north, swung to the north of, is Toluca here. And thus that this city coming up here is Varna. There's a little town here. So that is about the way I want to go. There was some sort of railway at some point. That probably the grade there. I put so when I first came up with the idea of trying to recreate the Vin Fizz project, or trying to recreate the Vin Fizz flight, I ended up spending literally dozens of hours looking at old railway map or researching old railways and stuff. Nobody asked me to do this, but here we are. I have a lot of free time at work in the summer. Varna, Illinois. Again, I think I found the old rail grade of whatever this was when I was planning this route. Put this together like a month ago at this point. how far ahead you have to book a Discovery flight if you want to do that, but this is weird. Like, weather has been very weird this summer. Like, Pittsburgh's, the weather here is usually not as... I like to say whatever the seasonally appropriate variant of shitty is. But, yeah, the weather's just been so weird this year. We've had so many random thunderstorms and or predicted thunderstorms that didn't happen. So I don't know. The climate change is going to make flying more of a, especially GA flying, much more of a challenge than it used to be. Been there. Been there. I was just complaining about the weather. So, you know, you didn't miss anything. Or yeah, I was complaining about the weather and talking about vintage railways, both very exciting things. To someone. Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. So Cal Rodgers, who's is doing the cross country flight that I'm replicating here, or who did the cross country flight that I'm replicating. His first time seeing an airplane was in April of 1911. He went to the Wright brothers flying school in June of 1911. Did his first air show in August, and started flying across the United States in September. And to top it all off, Scarlet, or he had scarlet fever as a child, and it left him with fucked up inner ear. So his hearing and balance weren't that good either. And then, yeah. And then he was, well, he died in a plane crash in April of 2012, or of 1912, so, the second biggest tragedy that happened that week. wasn't a good week. Or April, or that month. I don't remember what the exact date was, but April 1912 was not a good month for transportation pioneers. Alright. Laken, Illinois. Or Laken something, Illinois. I don't know, I'm just following... So right now I'm following this rail grade. I think... So right now I have basically an eastern wind, or like it's easterly wind going right now. Westerly. Like, there isn't much of a crosswind at the moment. There's about to be a crosswind. Yeah, I mean, it's a reasonably stable aircraft otherwise. Negative. Negative, I'm using one of the presets. I don't know what the... So I have it set to, like, the, I have it set to the season. Hence all the fall foliage. And I have it set to, like, the same time of year. And time of day. And in general... I don't know if it was the case by the time we get to the Jenny, but for the Vin Fizz, for the Vin Fizz player, the Wright EX, that plane was basically grounded in unfavorable wind was enough to ground that plane. So I'm just sort of flying with more or less favorable wind or favorable weather. Yeah. Yeah, I was, like, I think probably while your internet was down, I was complaining about how nuts the weather's been this year. We had our... We had our first, in my living memory, encounter with a forest fire smoke this year. That was something else. I think Seattle's presumably upwind of what's happening near Spokane. But I have a friend in Spokane. Oh. Okay. I have a friend in Spokane who's real close to it and is pretty scared, as you can imagine. I wasn't sure if Seattle would be seeing any of it right now or not, because I figure you guys are upwind of, I guess not far enough away. Yeah, I did a stream like the day that the wildfire smoke was the worst here, and it actually wouldn't let me set. I was actually fairly close to Pittsburgh for that stream, or I was flying fairly close to Pittsburgh for that stream, and it would not let me set real-time weather in the sim at all, because I was curious about that. I swear other people have done it. Or I swear other people have flown through forest fire smoke in this... Or I've seen other people do that in the sim, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah, wildfire fighting sounds scary. Like, in an entirely different way than structural firefighting sounds scary, from what I've heard. I have another friend in Leadville, Colorado, who was really close to a fire this past month as well. Alright, so we're passing Chillicothe in Illinois. I'm gonna say about 20 civilian miles. I don't know if any. I haven't looked to see if anybody other than you or I haven't looked to see if there are any non-pilots in the chat still, but lurking. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I've been I got a book about this. Got a book about this. It just ended up. I wish I had found it earlier on in my research, earlier on when I was researching this route. But at any rate, yeah, every few pages, it's like somebody whose recollection of like this is my first time seeing an airplane comes up. Yeah, they were a novelty. Like, I think 1909 or 1910 were the first couple public air show. The first like sort of public air shows started to happen around 1909, 1910. Yeah. This just came up on a game show or like on a trivia show I was watching, but apparently in November of 1903, the New York Times ran a piece where the author had said that human flight would not be possible for another 10 million years. And well, the Wright brothers didn't really invite audiences to most of their early test flights, and thus there was a lot of skepticism about whether or not, like I've been reading about this, and there was a lot of skepticism about whether or not they'd actually built a working flying machine. General disinterest, like it even took the Wright brothers years to convince the government it was anything more than a novelty, or to get the patent on it. My understanding is that Wilbur Wright spent much of the 1910s fighting doing patent lawsuits, and for the best most of the world's governments decided that you couldn't patent a flying machine. Again, it's for the best that that's how that worked out. There were things that he had a legitimate claim to, like wing warping, although I think the Wrights were really the only the Wrights might have been the only plane manufacturers that stuck with that for any length of time. I think Louis Blériot came up with ailerons. Obviously, Curtiss was putting ailerons on his planes. I know one of I know one of Blériot's planes is the first plane to have the modern control surfaces and systems that we think of today, like stick and pedals. something I've wondered aloud about a lot and never been able to get a conclusive answer to, with vintage cars, is like which is. So I can drive stick, but even then, like some of the Model T has like a spark advance and stuff, and the choke and stuff that I wouldn't know what to do with. But what I don't know what like the oldest car that would have controls that are entirely familiar to me is a modern stick shift driver. Alright, so that places us about here. It's actually a reasonably sizable rise there. But yeah, I think if I yeah, like I've never found the answer to what is the oldest car that's 3 pedals in a wheel, or 3 pedals that do the same thing that modern pedals do in a wheel. But I think it's like the late 20s, early 30s. So the airplane got its standardized a lot sooner. I think that's my airport. I'm gonna fly a little bit farther south first, but I think that's my airport. I am not a helicopter guy, but it would be interesting to try to land a helicopter on that.
Champaign Airport information.
Oh, Christ.
0200 Zulu. Wind 27
The last thing I need is an ATIS. That is something that would probably drive me nuts. Like, listening to ATIS as a pilot would probably drive me nuts. Like, repetitive. One of my pet peeves, I guess, is just, like, hearing the same sentence over and over again, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because of the simulator work, well, there's probably a way to just start flying from wherever, but, I am trying to stick to real runways. There was somebody who did a recreation of the flight in the 80s, or somebody did a recreation of the infamous flight in the 80s or 90s, I want to say. And for that, they used like primarily public airport, or like regional public airports. I'm just, yeah, I'm trying to use real airfields whenever possible. And, you know, airfields weren't a thing in 1911, but, I don't know. It's just a little extra personal thing. Also, I don't know if it's a simulator thing or if it's actually that hard, but I've had a lot of trouble keeping this thing upright on the ground. So anything I can do to make that easier. Yeah, let me see if I can find this website. Yeah, so I started doing... This is like the basis for my research, and then I ended up just redoing a lot of their research from scratch. I mean, kinda. I guess compared to a normal airplane, or a modern airplane, it's a lot narrower. You've only got this skid on the back. No brakes. No brakes. I'm just generally not a fan of tail draggers, although I've had better luck with this than... Yeah. Yeah, the skid is the brake, but, you know, you don't have a direct control over it. Okay. So here's Peoria. I think I'm gonna fly past the city named for runway 31. The Piper Cub, I will give you, the Piper Cub is a great airplane. I have almost nothing bad to say about it. I just prefer tricycle. I don't know. I've gotten a lot more practice. Landing.
Allegiant 3018, climb and maintain 2400.
I don't know, I've just got too many bad memories of the bush trips in, Flight Simulator 2020 and trying to land on these trying to do 3-point landings on these super short grass runways and just not being any good at it.
Allegiant 3018, you are 1500 above your assigned altitude.
Uh-oh.
Descend and maintain 2400 altimeter 29902.
I'm gonna start. We'll start trying to call out a AI aircraft. Yeah, if I went back and flew the Cub now, I'd probably have a better time with it. For what that's worth. Something I have noticed in Sim or in Flight Sim 2024, especially more so than in 2020, is that bodies of water tend to have really nutty updrafts going over them in the sim, and I don't know how realistic that is. Like, I have no idea how realistic that is, but it feels like it shouldn't be. Centered? There we go. Now I'm centered. This is why I don't like looking side to side in cockpit view. Yeah, like I absolutely believe that air currents are affected by rivers, but it feels a little over dramatic to me, or seems over dramatic to me in at least in light aircraft. But I don't know. Like I obviously do not have any airtime in actual light aircraft, so I wouldn't know. Pretty bad at eyeballing descent paths. And there is no indicators. Huh. Well, okay, so I guess that is realistic then. Flare. Stalled a bit at the end there, but that wasn't too bad. Birds on and in vicinity of airport. Well, good thing I didn't have a bird strike then. That would have been scary. Incidentally, a bird strike is thought to have been what caused it's thought to have caused Rodgers' fatal accident. So, yeah. Why? No, no. Still doing 14 minutes without. GA ramp. We'll head to the GA ramp. Okay, so that was fun. Obviously, I'm gonna try to taxi this to the ramp before I call it a night. But we are approaching the end of tonight's stream, so thank you very much for watching. Mallard, thank you so much for chatting with me through this. And the AI wants me to stop at a gate, which I'm not going to be doing. I'm picking up speed because this is very silly. Let's see if I can choke the engine out a little bit. Still gaining speed. Or, well, not losing speed as much as I would like. There, where that plane's pulled out from. put the engine out, and let's coast in here. And good enough. Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Very, very, very pretty. All right, gorgeous, gorgeous Midwest early afternoon. All right, so thank you for watching. We'll be back as usual on Tuesday at 7 Eastern. Yeah. If you stuck around for this whole thing, thank you very much. Next one will probably be yeah, next one's going to be shorter than this. But yeah, I will see you on the next flight. Thank you so much. Where's my music? Here's my playout music. Thank you. All right. Good night, everybody.